Harris Caprock owns an extensive infrastructure. We have satellite capacity on more than 60 satellites worldwide in multiple frequency bands. As you mentioned, a lot of Earth stations, 15 Earth stations that we own in terrestrial architecture. I say that because our customers are very wide and varied in their mission sets. We have a number of government customers, both throughout the services, the four services, and the combatant commands, and a number of our federal agencies rely on Caprock Communications for their support. Not only within the DoD and federal, which I'm happy to speak about this morning, but as you mentioned, a number of energy and maritime customers. As you imagine, the world is a big place. Our customers go, quite frankly, in remote locations, harsh locations, and that's where Caprock fits in.
What about cybersecurity?
We have a capacity, in fact, over 4 gigahertz at this point. Network requirements are not going down anytime soon. Network requirements are global in nature. Every single network introduces great capabilities and operational support, but also introduces vulnerabilities, as you just mentioned. Cybersecurity clearly has to be planned and engineered and thought out prior to implementing. The implementation of a network sometimes is the easiest part. It's easy to put up a network. The real challenge, and where Harris Caprock excels and puts a lot of effort and energy into, is making sure the network is always there, always on, and more importantly, secure. Right. So the key is, how do you secure a network? Essential to securing a network is being able to see a network, right. Being able to monitor it, make sure it behaves, where it needs to, and when it needs to. And Harris Caprock has network monitoring stations extensively throughout our network, and a number of customer service centers.
What about some of the special challenges that you see with military satellites, the UAS as well as terrestrial networks? What do you see there?
Focus on UAS. Unmanned aircraft systems or remotely piloted aircraft, not only aircraft these days, but it's other systems as well, systems and sensors. The end-to-end requirements to enable that capability are great. As you can clearly understand, remotely piloted aircraft don't stand still. They're operated in faraway places and sometimes controlled here in the United States or elsewhere. So what you have is an extensive network requirement. There's planning and engineering requirements associated with that to make sure that the aircraft has its high definition and standard definition capabilities, bringing real live video to where it needs to be. Securing that end-to-end network, which consists of your satellite segment, consists of a terrestrial Earth station landing point, and consists of your terrestrial fiber, and to include all the applications thereof requires a total end-to-end service, which Caprock provides.
We're in a new era, as you know, of fiscal restraints and some of the looming, as we see today, some of the looming global threats to global security and national security. Do you see any options that will minimize these fiscal restraints and some of the global threats?
Well, on the theme of cybersecurity, I think we've seen indications that cybersecurity within the Department of Defense and elsewhere in the federal government is taken very seriously. I think the budget is there. It's all about training and preparing our cybersecurity warriors within the DoD and within commercial enterprise. Because at the end of the day, a network is only relevant if the network is where it needs to be and is safe and secure. So the time and attention clearly is important. From a Harris Caprock perspective, we worked very closely with the government, with the Defense Information Systems agencies and other similar agencies to make sure that our network is indeed safe and secure to use. We follow the policies and procedures, and in fact are part of the community that informs the government on best practices.
What new vertical markets do you see in the next, let's say, 3 years?
A great question. I get asked, well, what's next on the horizon?
Right.
What other marketplaces, what other regions do we see growth? I answer this way. The network requirements that we'd like in our homes or in our workplaces, if you look around, you see the devices thereof. It's those same capabilities that are required, there's a demand signal for no matter where we go, on the airplanes, in travels, on trains, to a limited extent in vehicles. Every endeavor requires some form of network capabilities. So from a Harris Caprock perspective, we do a lot of work with our energy customers. As you can understand, the energy market is a growing market. Maritime customers, both within maritime commercial and maritime entertainment, with Carnival Cruise Line, with Royal Caribbean, to name a few. From a Harris government team perspective, we're partnering with other Harris business units, specifically within our professional services and the professional communications, to fully enable our first responders. So one of the markets we're looking at is for making sure that everything we provide and have provided the military, and it's been a great amount of capabilities throughout the years. Those capabilities, those services are what our first responders need. And we're keen to make sure that we're working with our partners to get them that.
What about Caprock's plans to increase its international presence?
Well, we're part of Harris Corporation, and Harris Corporation has done business both through government channels, through military channels, and commercial channels internationally for years, decades. Harris Caprock, we have a large international presence, as you mentioned in your intro. We have teams who live abroad on multiple continents, and specifically there to make sure that we understand fully the needs of our international customers. Right. We have, from a Harris Caprock government team perspective, we have a team dedicated that lives abroad and throughout Europe and elsewhere that are working with international customers. Because at the end of the day, you have to understand their needs. You have to understand the environment that they're working in. You have to understand their constraints, both from a technology perspective, from a policies and regulations perspective, and of course from a budgetary perspective. So we're well positioned to grow in that area.